From downtown, this is Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam, and you're listening to NintenDomain Podcast. Boom shakalaka!
This week on NintenDomain, Yakuza Kiwami is finally on Switch, and that gold mine over there is getting released from the Wii U prison.
Being an alpha is very important if you're the target.
Gamers, Kamala wants you.
But only for a very secret password on the Fortnite thing. It's not what you think it is. It's very difficult to find. I couldn't find it. Anyway, welcome to NintenDomain Podcast, episode 445, your place to hear Nintendo fans talk about, man, a lot of shit. And Nintendo music finally released in America, sort of. Lots of stuff going on here. But we are your hosts. I'm Trey Trouble Finder Johnson.
I'm Jeremy Gameplay Button Dysphoria Mikowski.
I'm John Vote Knitter.
Yes, this is actually, this is the last podcast we'll be doing before the vote of next week. So we won't be doing, as far as I know, we won't be doing a podcast before that unless we could somehow find a time to do our Halloween episode. But this is probably our last one before the voting one. And the next one will be, I don't know, we might be feeling ways about things. Who knows? I did see a funny thing on Twitter earlier. Funny, but maybe hopeful, where this one person was like, hey, I'll buy a copy of Super Mario Party Jamboree for everyone who replies to this when Kamala wins. So I was like, and then he's got like 500,000 replies. I was like, that's a lot of Mario Party games. Well, if hopefully that happens, but
it's 300 million or something like that. I'm trying to do the math.
There's a lot of replies. There's like anybody who replies to this, I'll buy you
I'm just thinking
copy of Mario Party. Should have been like, I'll buy you. Yeah, if you. I guess I thought it was trying to be an incentive to get people to vote or whatever, but whatever. Anyway, let's start off the show as we normally do and talk about games that we got and games that we've been playing. I think we should just go into it right now before I completely lose sight of everything. We should talk about Yakuza Kiwami because it came out last week. Last week I was waiting for it to come out.
It came out on Friday, right?
Thursday. It came out on Thursday, and I thought it was going to launch at 11 p.m. as most Switch games do. But it didn't end up coming out until like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or something like that. I think it actually coincided with the Amazon show, which I did watch the first episode of, which I'll talk about that as well. But Yakuza is on Switch finally, and I streamed it I did the first 2 hours, streamed it on Twitch. It's on YouTube as well if you want to watch me play it on there. And I'm really happy. This is probably how John felt when Grand Theft Auto finally came to Nintendo. That's how I feel now. The Yakuza series is probably one of my favorite video game series of all time. Like, it's up there with Dragon Quest and Metroid and all these, and F-Zero and all these other ones that I love. And it was pretty wild to see it finally running on Switch. And it was kind of hard to wrap my brain around just the differences in the controller, mostly, and this, Jeremy, from having a PlayStation 5, but just, having to realize that A is accept instead of X or B, or where, you have to go back and forth, like with the buttons there, because on the PlayStation controllers, X is accept, that's where B would be, which is back on all the Nintendo controllers. It's like switched. So it's kind of weird to when you play a game series for so long on a PlayStation, all of a sudden it's on
that dysphoria
Nintendo, and it's like oh wait, it's like wait, you want me to press X, but do you want me to press X where X used to be on the PlayStation controller, or no, you want me to push it where X is on the Nintendo controller? Okay, I mean, I don't know, I put like 400 hours into various Yakuza games, like all put together, so it's like trying to do all this on a new system was a little difficult. But I love it. I got 16 hours into it so far, like since last week, and I'm like almost halfway through all of the sub stories, that was what my nickname was, or my middle name, Trouble Finder. Trouble Finder is actually is like an equipment that you can get that you can equip on yourself. It will basically show you where all of the sub stories are on the map, which is awesome. And I think I've actually seen this before on previous Yakuza games, so maybe I didn't understand exactly what it meant, but I put it on. It's like, oh, it shows exclamation points on the map, and that's where all the side missions are. And if you've ever played a Yakuza game before, the side missions are where it's at. That's where it gets weird. That's where it gets all weird and crazy. And the main mission is like the more intense, serious stuff.
Did it start that way, or did it evolve that way as the series went on? Like, maybe not too deep in because I haven't seen the weird yet.
I was about to say, I think I should actually ask John about this because you're the one who's never played a Yakuza game before here, and you should give your impressions of it. Because I've played, I figured I'd go into the history somewhat of this, so I think Yakuza, the original PlayStation 2 one, came out in like 2002. The whole reason that I got involved with this series was I remember I watched a video review on IGN. Greg Miller actually did it for Yakuza 3 on PlayStation 3, and this was in like 2009 when I had bought an HD TV for the first time at my Talman apartment, and I was like I had the Wii, I was playing like New Super Mario Brothers on Wii or whatever, but I was like oh, I should try to get one of those HD systems, and I'd been sort of leaning towards an Xbox 360, but I realized that the games that I wanted to play were PlayStation 3 exclusives, and one of them was Yakuza 3. It was basically Yakuza and Infamous were like the games I really wanted to play, so I went to PS3 instead of the other thing. But yeah, it was like Yakuza 3 I was really interested in, and I was like, well, I can't afford a PS3 right now, but I do have a PS2, so I ended up going online and looking up all the GameStops in Chicago, and I found Yakuza 1 and 2 on the cheap. So I bought those, and I played through both of those on PlayStation 2 on my HD TV. And I did find like a component cable and all that to make it look better. And I also got like a wireless PS2 controller to so I didn't have to deal with the wires and all that stuff, which I still have. But that was my origin of Yakuza. But I think that the side stories were always kind of weird, but I think they've gotten weirder and weirder as the games go on. And so Yakuza Kiwami, which is on Switch now, is actually technically a sequel to Yakuza 0. So we had Yakuza 1 and 2 on PS2, and then on PS3 we had 3, 4, 5, and 0. And then all of the mechanics of 0 are brought into Kiwami 1 and 2. So like the different fighting styles, and actually in Kiwami 1 you actually do flashback to stuff from 0. So you'll remember the time that you had there, and there are actually references within the storyline as well as to what happened to you before this. So it's all, there's a lot of meta stuff to Yakuza or whatever. I guess most people would say that 0 is maybe a better starting point than 1, but I think you can easily start with 1 and be fine. I don't know. And 0's not on Nintendo yet, but so just go with 1. Why not? But the copy of 1 that I got for PS2, the disc was kind of scratched, so like some of the cutscenes, like kind of like they would kind of freeze a little bit, and I was always like, I need to get a better version of this game because this game's really good. And I was like, this copy's not great. I'm gonna need to buy another one. And then they came out with a remake of it, and now I have 2 of them. Well, digitally, I have it on PS4 and on Switch now, but it's a great game. But what did you think about it coming into it without playing any of them?
So I mean, immediately it felt like I could see you told me before it was like what if Shenmue continued on, it would have become Yakuza.
Yeah,
I felt that immediately. You're wandering around town with lots of random people around, interacting with them here and there, and then the fighting feels along lines of Virtua Fighter, that kind of fighting style. Yeah, but I also felt that it really feels like an evolution of River City Ransom to me.
Sure,
like just the same thing, walking around town, going to different restaurants, eating the food, and gaining HP that way, whatever.
I guess the only thing, doesn't the food do a little bit more for you in River City Ransom versus Yakuza? Because Yakuza, all it does is it refills your hit points, but it also, you get experience from it. But didn't the stuff from I thought that River City Ransom, like it did actually like up your attack power and stuff like that. Like, doesn't it do a little bit more for you? Like some of the food
there was different foods that could do different things like that. It wasn't all HP, to my recollection. It's been a minute, but it just felt more like those games to me than even like Shenmue, it felt like if those games grew up and got better graphics and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I was afraid that you might think it's like too much story, but the story's so good. Like I was playing it, and like I said, I've played so many of these games, and I love them so much. But I was thinking about it. It's kind of like an FMV. It's almost like an FMV game, but like, what if the FMV looked like really good? Like the pupils of their eyes and like the fabric of the clothes and the hair. Like I always thought looked really good on these games. And I was hoping you would just look at it, just imagine it as being this really, really good Japanese movie that just lets you, beat the shit out of people also on top of that. And also,
that's kind of what I'm
you can
feeling
go bowling and
so
play
far.
darts and hit baseballs and whatever. I mean, there's all this extra shit too. It's like, like I said, I've been playing nothing other than Yakuza since it came out for the most part. I mean, there's a couple other things, but it's really been, it's like that perfect game for me where it's like where you can fuck around or you can go do the main story. It's like what I always wanted there to be, like the combination of like Animal Crossing and Zelda, where it's like you can do your Animal Crossing stuff, but if you want to go to the main story, you can go to the main story. And that's kind of how this game works. Like you have it'll show you on the map where the main story is, but also you don't have to do that. You can spend like it's basically like it's maybe around 20 hours if you just go the straight path. But if you don't, it could be a fucking 100+ hour game. If you want to like go and do all the side missions, which you should, because you get a lot of extra shit for it. I don't know. I'm sure you've been seeing the CP or the completion points show up on the screen, and you probably maybe don't know what those are yet. Have you seen any of those yet?
I ran into somebody who was dealing in completion points, and
you found that guy, the guy
Yep.
with the guy who's got the clown makeup on the southwest corner. Okay, I wasn't sure if you'd found him yet, because it took me a minute to
probably
find him.
3 hours in,
Oh, okay.
maybe. So I'm not too far in. I was feeling like you were saying, like, oh, this is more of a heavy story kind of game. And so at the end of a work day so far, I've not felt like diving into a big long story.
It is, but it isn't. Like it. That's the fun thing about it is, it'll let you know where the story is. Like it'll, if you see on the map the pink circle, that's where the story will continue. But you don't have to go there until you necessarily want to go there. That's what I'm saying. Like I spent so much time doing the submissions, or even just there's so many extra things that you can do. Like you can go to there's a bowling game in there. You can play bowling, you play darts, you can play billiards. Like, I mean, the person who did the Super Monkey Ball games did the Yakuza games. So if you remember all the side missions from Monkey Ball, that were brought into the Yakuza games as well. So like if you like those sort of things, they're there, and it's cool, like all the interactivity you can do. But also like when you go to the bowling alley for the first time, you can meet, like I met this ex-bowler that had some sort of controversy that happened to him, but he won't tell me about it. But he's like, here, bowl me and beat me, and let's play. And that's its own sub story as well.
Was his name the Jesus?
I don't remember what his name. I mean, his name was Japanese, so it wasn't. It was no reference to that movie. But yeah, no, it was interesting because when I played against him, his ability kind of like went to where mine was. Like I wasn't doing that well, and he was doing that well, but he was still beating me. But then I did really, really well, and he beat me. Like I beat him by like 1 point. Like I was 1 point off. Because I got like 5 strikes in a row, and he got like 4 or something like that. It was ridiculously hard. But it's there's a lot of cool other shit. Like I said, what I really like about those games is I enjoy just being in the world. Like you don't necessarily have to do the story stuff, but when you do, like it's intense. Back when you still liked zombie movies, John and I remember watching Shaun of the Dead. Remember watching that movie? And you told me that you liked it because it can be really, really funny when it wants to be, or it can be really serious when it wants to be. And that's what the Yakuza series does. Like it can be super silly, but it can also be like fucking hard as nails serious. But it can do it on the drop of the hat, and that's what I love about it. It's like all of a sudden you're doing a thing, and then you're doing something else super weird, But it doesn't necessarily have to be the story in your face all the time. Like I said, if you just go and receive the items that the clown guy has, he'll just give you that trouble finder for free, and then you can just go and do all the sub stories, and you don't have to worry about the regular story for however long you want to. But also you can just go to the bowling alley and bowl, or go to go to the batting cage and all these different things. And I've kind of been going back and forth. Like a lot of these games I don't want to do too much story too soon, because some of the older Yakuza games you could actually miss sub stories if you went too fast through the story. So I was going to try to I was hoping to finish all of them, because I've actually never done all of the sub stories of any of these games, even though I've beaten like 5 of them or whatever. But normally there's like one sub story that's hard to get through.
Are they listed out in a way that you can actually like tabulate them as you collect them, or
it's in the menu.
The narrative. Okay.
It's in the menu, and you'll get completion points for doing so. Like you get like a completion point for doing 10 sub stories, and for 20 sub stories, for 30 sub stories, and so on and so forth. And the completion points you can actually turn into the clown face guy in the southwestern corner, and you can actually turn them in to be like, oh, okay, you can run faster without running out of breath,
Stamina.
or yeah, you get all this extra shit, or you can get these special socks. They're actually called Abisu socks, where you gain money from just walking around town, like that sort of thing. Like you can get all this weird shit that will help you out with the story. Or one of my favorite ones, you get like the infinite stomach or something like that, where you can basically eat food forever and never get full. So if you want, and you actually get completion points for this as well. You get completion points for going to restaurants within the world and having every item on the menu. And if you go through all the items on the menu, you get a completion point for that also. But without the infinite stomach, you can only have like one meal, and then that's that. But then you can go through and order everything. But some of them have like alcohol drinks, and you can only get one of those at a time, so you have to go back. But it'll actually show on the menu which one you've gotten and which one you haven't. So if you want to go back,
that's pretty nice.
You can. But no, it'll keep track of all of your sub stories. And I think I'm at like 36 right now, and there's 78 of them, so I'm almost halfway through on the sub stories. But they're funny, like they're hilarious, and there's a bunch of them like they keep going. Like I was at this one place, I was over by one of like the 7-Eleven stores or whatever in there, and you run into these guys, and they run into you, and they're like, "Oh my god, you broke my shoulder! You have to pay me for running into your shoulder." And you're like, pretty much a lot of these sub stories are like, it's either like you got to grab a thing or you just beat the shit out of the person that's fucking with you or whatever. A lot of it's fighting missions. But this guy's like, "Oh yeah, no, you ran into me. You got to pay me." And you're like, you can say, "I'll pay you," or "I won't." Obviously you say, "I won't pay you," and then you fight him. And there's like 3 or 4 of these. Like it keeps going. Like at the same place, you'll run into him again, and the guy's like, "Oh my god, you broke my back." Or like another one's like, "Oh no, he's like dead on the ground." And then he stands up later. He's like, "No, I didn't mean it." And then there's like a 4th one that I found. Where they're like, "Oh no, we're done doing that. Like now we're all about walking. Let's walk together." And it's like, "All right, let's do power walking." And they walk you over to this alley, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna kill you." And then you gotta fight him. And they're like, "Oh no, I promise, I'm not doing it now." And that's like so they'll do like reoccurring stories and all that. But it's its own side thing on that. But
You're making me scared of Japan.
it's a lot of fun. No, I mean Japan's not really like that.
I don't want to power walk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do have to walk a lot of places, and actually, cars will like drive around you and not hit you, which I thought was really cool. It does make me really miss. Japan, because we did stay in Shinjuku, which Kamurocho is based off of that from Yakuza. So, I see a lot of things that we've actually seen in real life. Where it's like, oh yeah, there's that street, there's the crab gate thing at the front there. That we've walked through quite a few times. So it's good stuff.
So, Jim, what's your experience with the Yakuza series?
I've only played Like a Dragon a bit, and that's the their first foray into making it like
This the RPG one,
somewhat Dragon Quest, adjacent, because that was like the main character is a huge Dragon Quest fan, and it's kind of framed from his like perspective. So it all plays like it starts out feeling like it's going to play like that, but I got pretty bored of it.
Yeah, they kind of what was it? They kind of they wanted to make it sort of look like Kiryu's story, where like he goes to jail and comes back like 10 years later, but it turns a little bit differently. But you know what? And I played Like a Dragon as well, and I did like it somewhat, but I kind of missed like the action combat stuff of Yakuza, and I found myself wanting the original stuff, and I think the company did as well, because we got Judgment. There's like 2 Judgment games that were supposed to fill in that space, like where it's more like action combat. But then they brought Kiryu back for what was it? the man with no name or the man who erased his name, like whatever
the one where you're
the
on
one that
like
came out.
Hawaii or whatever, which I actually want to play eventually.
Well, that was the one that came out, before Infinite Wealth. But that was, bringing Kiryu back again. But then Kiryu was in Infinite Wealth, so it's like Kiryu's not going anywhere. Like, I guess in Yakuza 6, like it was supposed to be his last game, but they realized that, Kiryu's the one that we love. Like, you can't get rid of him. He's the main character of these games. I haven't played Infinite Wealth, but from the ones that I played, I kind of prefer the action combat stuff. Maybe because I'm more used to that than the like turn-based stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of what I played the most of. But Ichiban was a pretty good protagonist.
I thought so too, and as well as like
guy.
all of your the people you meet, like they all have really interesting backstories. Like they become
the
cool
story
party members, but
was
one of
really
them's
good.
like homeless.
Yeah.
His powers are based on him being homeless or whatever. Like, and it's just interesting because they take like normal folks and make them an RPG class, which we've seen before in like older RPGs, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah, like regular jobs as well. Like I thought that was interesting about the Like a Dragon, like the more the turn-based ones. Yeah, where it's like it could be like, oh, you're an escort person or whatever. It could be all these different things, and that's which I guess that's a lot of that was the RPG classes is based on that. I just didn't want you to. I just want it to be like too much, too much over the top for you, where you're like, oh no, this is too much story, so I don't want to play it. But it looks gorgeous.
It did kind of take me back a little
though.
bit. I guess I need to approach it more like a little bit more like a visual novel and that kind of thing.
Sort of. I mean, but I mean, I don't know. I had a hard time getting into visual novels.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than that.
I would think it's more like
it's heavy story.
I think it's more like an action game with a really, really good story. And I think the characters are. I always think I think the writing is done really, really well.
I did feel like I was watching a TV show when I was playing, especially in the opening. In the opening, there's a lot of cutscenes.
Oh yeah,
and so I was like, all right, I just had to readjust my expectations at that moment to be like, oh, I think okay, I gotta play this game when I'm like in the mood to watch a good show, and it's kind of like that. But you got your fighting thrown in there, which I enjoy the combat a lot. I said it feels like Virtua Fighter, and it actually feels a little bit somewhat kind of like Sifu to me. I still think I prefer Sifu. Sifu, as far as the combat goes, it's a little bit deeper, but it's kind of like partway there. It's an older game.
Yeah, Sifu came out later, so
Sifu came out later,
more advanced.
But it did feel to me like halfway between what I remember from Shenmue and Sifu, and a difference of 25 years between those games. It feels like this game is kind of right in the middle as far as the feel of the combat, and I'm enjoying it. So I look forward to playing some more and having more impressions later. One thing I did think about as I was playing this is like, I know it shares some of the creators of Shenmue in common, and I kind of want to see like, what if they threw Ryu in there somewhere at some point?
Yeah, you want to see Kiryu meet the Shenmue guy.
Yeah,
Kiryu would tear him apart. Probably,
especially because Ryo in this day and age, the original game was set in 1985, so he would be like 65 in present day.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, what was it? So Kiryu in Yakuza Kiwami, he goes to jail in 1995, and he comes out of jail in 2005. Right, is what the timeline, the new timeline is right now, which is the same in the show. Which one of the few things that is the same in the Amazon show, which I did watch. But so it does have that. But I mean, I don't know. Like Kiryu is like tough as nails, but he also will he's like understanding to everyone. Like when you get to the sub stories, he's very much like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine with whatever you're saying. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go do that. Like he's very much like he's super accepting of whatever, but he's also like, I can fucking kill you with a bike or whatever, or with a fucking parking cone or whatever, like he's got his moves based around all these different things you can grab or whatnot, but also he's still like super chill about everything. He's very much like, oh yeah, you want to do that? Sure. Why not? Let's do it. Let's go. Whatever.
I did kind of notice that in certain parts.
I met a character that was trying to sell matches because her family her family's been making matches forever long, and she has no money, but she fell in love with somebody, but she wants to buy them a Christmas present from selling matches. And you're like, all right, I'll sell matches for you or whatever. I'll buy a box of matches, even though now it's the day, it's the day and age where you use lighters and not matches or whatever. It's very, that's what I'm saying. The sub stories, I think you would find a lot of fun out of those because they get really silly.
I mean, that's true of a lot of games. I prefer sub stories.
Like one of the sub stories, I mean, I laugh at a lot of these things, but this one I laughed out loud at. You basically I found a person in an alley. I mean, I found like 3 people leaving this person in the alley, and I found out they're dead, and they have a cell phone on them, and you answer the cell phone, and it turns out that the dead person was supposed to kill you. So you get the cell phone, and you answer the cell phone. They're like, all right. Go to this part of town, like open this locker. There's a knife in there. You're gonna kill this target that we want you to kill. And they're like, okay, the target is Kazuma Kiryu. And you're like, what? He's like, and there's a line that Kiryu said where it's like, oh, so the dead guy that I found was supposed to kill me. is what he said. And I was like, what? Yeah, it's just it has a lot of fun stuff with that. But yeah, it's a good time.
Sounds like it's like tongue in cheek.
Oh yeah, no, it's like I said, that's when they get weird on the sub stories, and then when you do the regular game, it's more serious. But it was always done really well, and it was very dramatic, and that it's always like it's super cinematic, and it feels like a movie, but it feels like a Takashi Miike, like really good Japanese movie, like that sort of thing. Which Takashi Miike did do a Yakuza movie, which I've seen. I own it. I bought it on DVD. But it looks like a pristine. I mean, Miike did what was it? Ichi the Killer. You've seen that? Like he did that as well, among many other. He also did the Phoenix Wright movie, like this, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard that was really good also. But he's done. I mean, his style is all over the place. He was referenced in No More Heroes 3 also. The main character talked about his love for Takashi Miike, which he is a great director. But yeah. But I guess, what we should say about Yakuza Kiwami on Switch is how it performs. I don't know what you've noticed, but I have run into some things that are pretty choppy. Like when you're fighting in the Tokyo aspects where you have the people around you, like sometimes the fight can get a little chuggy, that sort of thing. It kind of varies as to where you're at. I don't know if you've noticed any of that stuff yet, John.
As far as getting a little chuggy, you said. So he said,
yeah, like the like the frame rate and that sort of thing, like how well it performs.
No, I've not noticed that. It looks smooth so far to me.
It looks good, but in some of the fighting stuff, like because I don't know if you got to the point where people will attack you like while you're on the street. That's their own version of random battles, But you can see them on the map and you'll see where they're at and all that. But a lot of times, they'll attack you and there'll be a lot of people around you. It seems like most of the time when there is like a lot of people fighting you and a lot of people around you, it does get like a little framey and it does kind of slow down a little bit, and you do kind of notice that. And it does affect the gameplay in that way. So hopefully,
I didn't notice that yet, but
hopefully they can patch that because this is a PlayStation 3 game originally. It released on PS4, but also like similar to the Ys games. These games come out like much earlier in Japan before they ever make it to the States originally. Now I think they do it globally, a global release now. But back in the day, like it would be like, it's like, here you Yakuza 3. This came out 6 years ago in Japan or whatever. It seemed like it took a long time for it to come from one place to another. I mean, there's a lot of dialogue to translate, so I understand that.
I didn't even check to see, but is there an English option in this game? I would prefer that there like not even be an English option.
You know what? I was actually worried about that when I first started it up because I started up and I was streaming it already, and I was like, I forgot to look and see if there was like English audio or not, because I don't want that, because in my mind I know the voices of everybody in the game. Like I know the way Majima should sound and Kiryu and like Nishiki and all these people, and if they were in English, then that would like throw me off. Like I don't want that. Like I like the way they sound. And actually that's another thing about the show too, where it's like, this is how Kiryu is. This is the way he sounds. This is what he looks like. That's not what you're doing here. But that same sort of thing. But I've never. I know some of the later ones. I think Like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth have American translations or whatever, or have like spoken English dialogue and all that. But I've never tried it. Well, actually, you know what? The first time I ever played Yakuza on PlayStation 2 was actually only in English. There was no Japanese option to it. So So I'm lying here. The first time I ever played
Hey, that
Yakuza,
likes
what
Sony.
was the English version? Because I mentioned that because Majima was actually played by Mark Hamill, the Mark Hamill from Star Wars. So
yeah.
so he played Majima, which I'm sure you've seen Majima in some way, right? In 3 hours, you've seen him with the eye patch and the snakeskin jacket. The one who comes out to you is like
the guy who keeps challenging you.
yeah, he's like Kiryu-chan. He's
Yep.
got that voice. I mean, Majima. Yeah, he's one of the best characters in the whole series.
I can imagine Mark Hamill was doing a variation on his Joker. For that
Sure,
character.
yeah. I don't remember.
Maybe a Nick Cage lean.
I thought about yeah, because of his
Snakeskin
his jacket and his belief in personal freedom and all that. But I thought about going back and looking at some of the footage of the old of the PlayStation 2 Yakuza because it's been a long time since I played. I mean, I played in like 2009, I think. I mean,
So Kiwami is a updated version of the original.
it's a full-on remake of the original. Like I mean, the original Yakuza. You know how you can run around like Kamurocho in 3D or whatever. That was not in the original games. It was a top-down view. It was like an RPG. Like it was a top-down, and you could walk around, but you couldn't see anything because it was so far back. But all the fights were 3D, and the story was 3D. But the actual walking around the world was like from top down.
Even on PS2.
On PlayStation 2, yeah. I mean, so they made a lot of advances between Yakuza 2 and 3. That's why another part that I was really excited to play the PlayStation 3 one after playing 1 and 2 because I was really tired of going through Kamurocho in the overhead, with the static background and all that. So I really wanted to see, So, I mean, this is a full-on remake, reimagining, remaster. Like, it's really not very close to the original PlayStation 2 game. They're very
Maybe
different.
hitting the same story beats, but
yeah,
different look and all that.
Yeah, no, you get the basic story, but I think they've added all the sub stories, and I'm pretty sure all of the I think all of the different fighting styles, like those are all brought over from Yakuza 0. So like I said, if you played Yakuza 0, you'll see a lot of similarities because they basically brought all the stuff that you could do of 0 into this one, and it's basically a remake of the first one and the second
Regarding
one. Which hopefully
the fighting, let me ask you: is there a training mode?
Oh, you mean like how to dodge and stuff?
I'm finding myself wishing that I could just like take a step back and like I don't know, go to a dojo somewhere and just practice all the fighting.
Oh, sure.
Is there some kind of option like to just train?
I mean, I guess there's tutorials at the beginning, but I guess they don't really tell you that much. And I guess
you can't go back to them once they're done.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Coliseum, but that's just you basically just fighting other people and upping your abilities and all that stuff.
I call them like I see them.
But
Nice.
which the Coliseum is also in the Amazon show, but done differently because everything is. Yeah, I don't know if there's. I mean, I found I unlocked a guy. I found a sub story where a dude trained me, but he was just telling me new moves, not just teaching me the basics. He's just giving me new stuff, like that sort of thing. So I don't know. I don't know if there is necessarily a training area. I'll have to report back to you next week, see if I can find anything like that. That's what I was afraid of. Is I feel like this game was originally made for people who had played Yakuza 1 through 4 or 5, 0, before the remake. So coming into it without playing any of them, I thought it might almost be too much. Like you don't know enough of all the different systems and all that, to be a little lost in it, like that sort of thing.
I did get a little lost in between the story and then the fighting, learning all the different fighting moves, and they've got, of course, the 4 different styles.
Yeah.
I wish they would take a step back and just let you go somewhere just to practice and try things out and remember the moves,
Sure. I mean, the fighting style is not. It's not too complicated. It's basic. It's like a 2-button thing. It's like Y and X, for the most part, for your combos. The cool thing about
what calls for there's different fighting. There's 4 different fighting styles, right? And how do you know which fighting style is called for?
Oh, I was going to say there is a big thing that actually I didn't even really know about this, and I had played this game before. I had saw it on the Switch Up's review of it, but some of the bosses, I don't know if you've noticed, or some of the bigger guys that you fight, they kind of where they hunch over and they're sort of stunned, and you can hit them and they lose some of their life, but they're kind of waiting for you to do something. Whenever they're hunched over, they'll be glowing a different color, and they want you to change your fighting style to whatever that color is. But also, you will have had to have unlocked that ability, and you can do like a super move to them when they're in that state. But also, you would have had to have gone into the skill tree menu and actually made that available before you can actually do it. So there's some extra complication in there that they don't really tell you about.
So I did notice that at certain points there was like a little blue X icon that pops up, but it only pops up sporadically.
That's your special move, which you can do that at any time, but you want to make sure and hit it whenever you can. That's like your spirit move, or when your special meter is up at a certain point, you can do a special move with that, and you can do it with a variety of different weapons as well. And that's another fun thing about this game, is seeing all the different things that you can do, like how many different ways you can smash somebody with a fucking bike or whatever, or a traffic cone or whatever you have, like there's some really fun ones in there. Or you can just like break somebody's face open with a bat or whatnot. There's some pretty gory stuff in there, but more fun stuff to do. But yeah, when you see that X thing pop up, just walk back to wherever it popped up and hit it again, because it's a special.
I think that's what was kind of confusing me, because maybe you have to be in a certain spot or nearby a certain item. But I just noticed it would pop up here and there, and I couldn't like get it to repeat. Yeah,
you gotta try to repeat whatever it was that. Yeah, so most of the time, whenever you knock somebody down, there's like a special move you can do if your spirit meter is up enough, and that's where you'll see it. But also, if you have a weapon and you have your spirit meter up, you can do that as well for extra damage. But also, if you have the super special spirit thing unlocked through the skill tree, then you can do like an extra super move when they're stunned, like when the bosses are stunned or whatever. If you're using the right style that's glowing or whatnot. I know, like I said, it can get a little complicated, I guess, in that way. But yeah, if you can do all this, I mean, those spirit moves are pretty cool, though. I mean, that's what drew me into it originally from the original PlayStation 2 Yakuza. Maybe they explained it better there, but I was like, oh yeah, there's these cool extra spirit moves that you can do that are pretty rad, So,
well, tell me a little bit more about the series. I want to hear more about the series.
What do you mean? What do you want to know about it?
As far as like, it seems like you're a little hesitant toward it, like you want to keep watching, but
you mean you mean the Amazon series? I thought you were talking about Yakuza as a series as a whole, like
gotcha.
Like all
TV
of the
series, yep.
Like all the video game series. So yeah, I watched Jess and we watched the first episode of Yakuza, and I was like, I'm like I said, I'm a huge fan of the game, so I was curious to see the show, and I feel like I gave it a little bit of extra leeway just because it is filmed in Japan and it is a Japanese show. Like if it was an American show, I probably would have been harder on it because, they would have tried to Hollywood or whatever bullshit, that sort of thing. But yeah, they really took a lot of liberties with the characters. I had just played the first couple hours of Yakuza Kiwami when I watched the Amazon show, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is way different. So when you come into Yakuza Kiwami, Kiryu is known as the Dragon of Dojima. That's just what he's known as. And in the show, he's like, I want to become the Dragon of Dojima. Like he's not there yet or whatever. Mm. And also, in the subtitles, they spell Dojima wrong. They spell it with a U and not an O. And I was like, that's not. It looks like Dojima and not Dojima. I saw it and I was like, wait a second. I don't know if like the subtitle person fucked up, but I was like, I played enough of these games and I know how you spell Dojima, and it's not like that. It's not D-O-U.
It's gotta be those Brits putting U's where they don't belong.
Something like that, right?
I don't know. But I'm certain they're doing a lot of AI subtitling and not even having people doing it anymore.
I know, but this is a Japanese show. Like it's all Japanese people. It's shot in Japan. I will say though, coming off of playing like Kiwami, when they went to Kamurocho, it looked exactly like the Kamurocho from the game. Like they had the same stores and the same like storefronts and all that. I even saw like one that you see at the very beginning of the game. I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, that looks exactly like fucking Kamurocho from the game. But it's like, it's weird. It's like, so like I said, I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to spoil the game for you at all. But Yumi, the one that you get the ring for pretty early in the game. There, that's like that's Kiryu's main squeeze. And he goes to jail for 10 years, then he comes back and she's gone, and her sister's there, but her sister has the daughter Haruka who becomes
she's right behind you, I think.
Who becomes his heart? Is Haruka back there? Well, Haruka is a huge part of it. It's I mean, he ends up. Spoilers, in Yakuza 3, he ends up starting his own orphanage because he was an orphan and he wants to raise kids and all that. And he ends up getting a bunch of extra kids. And I think Yakuza 5, Haruka actually becomes like a Japanese pop star, and you can play as her as well. And yeah, there's a lot of shit that happens in these games. But yeah, so it starts off with like with all of them like doing a job together against the Yakuza, but they get caught, and then Kiryu is like, "Oh, I did this because I want to be part of Yakuza. I want to be part of the clan or whatever." And I don't know. It's very different from what. I mean, I'm curious to see where it goes, I guess, but it's very, very different from what the game is, and I think that's why a lot of people have been, giving it low ratings because the game already had a really, really great story. It's like, why do you have to do this? Honestly, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Street Fighter movie, where it's like we have like concepts of what the characters are, but we don't have the characters at all. It's like, yeah, sure, we'll say the names of them. They won't use any of the fucking moves that they have, and also feels kind of cheap too, which I thought that original movie looked super cheap. So I mean, it kind of reminded me of it in that way. It's like, well, we have two characters called Ken and Ryu. Like, they're nothing like the characters of Ken and Ryu, but we call them that, or Ryu, as they would say it in the movie. Like, we'll say their names. Isn't that enough for you? Like that sort of thing. Where it's like, we're not really actually, I don't know.
Well, I think so. Sega being into movies and stuff these days, I'm thinking back to like the first Sonic movie. But the first Sonic movie, aside from
it
was terrible quality, whatever,
it was not great.
It looked cheap. It looked like a very low to mid budget movie, and I think that's maybe, if you're saying that this is kind of cheap looking, maybe they're trying to play in the same cards. Like, just, hey, play it safe this time.
I wouldn't say that the Sonic movie looked cheap. Like that was a theatrical release. Like,
yeah, the first one looked like it. I mean, I think it was a $50 million budget movie, and kind of looked like in that range.
It looks better than this show. the Sonic movie looks better than this show. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I mean, like the first, not to get too off track, but when I say cheap, I mean the first movie didn't have any real like special locations aside from the first 5 minutes when he saw Sonic's land or whatever. It was like Sonic on a road trip in Nebraska. That was like the first movie.
It didn't have as much like CGI backgrounds or whatever. And the original movie had a $90 million budget. Like, it was not that cheap. It was just under $100 million, and they ended up making $300 million off of it. So they did all right. But
it seems like Sega's taking baby steps outside of doing just Sonic as movies, and like, okay, let's play it safe a little bit.
The 70% profit? I think so.
But the Amazon Yakuza show definitely does not have a $90 million budget. Like, if they did, it went to the actors or something. It's like the $200 million budget for the Joker 2 movie. It's like, where did that budget go? It went to the actors. That's where it went. It didn't go to the set or writing or whatever. But it's that sort of thing. But I don't know. It just I guess it just didn't. I don't know. It doesn't. It's not there. Like, and I remember on the Slack you said you were talking about Yakuza or Kiryu's suit. His like gray suit and the red.
Yeah,
shirt.
I thought it was funny
that
he went to prison and then 10 years later he comes out, he's wearing the same suit.
He loves that suit.
I mean, you bring your clothes with you and they give them back to you, right?
That is true, right?
I suppose so.
They give you your belongings or whatever when you get out of prison. But he has not worn the suit yet on the show. But I was like, oh, it's going to be like a Netflix show, right? We're going to have to watch like 10 episodes, and then it's going to be like Daredevil season 1, where like we don't get to see the actual red Daredevil until like episode 9 or something like that, where it's like almost the end of it. So I don't know, but it's kind of all over the place with the characters. It's really, there's parts that are similar, like they flash back and forth between like his time outside of the prison and his time after coming out of the prison. So they do like the 10-hour or the 10-year difference and that sort of thing. And Nishiki is like the head of the Tojo clan and all that, when he gets out. So we do have that. So there's parts of it, but I don't know. It doesn't have like, I don't know. Like for me, like Yakuza, it really gripped me at the very beginning of it. Like playing it on PS2 even, I was like, oh, all right, this game is going places. Like this game has a plan. It has like, it's not like just throwing shit at you. Like it's like we're going somewhere here. And this one was kind of like, and I was telling Jess about it. I was like, well, the original story, like Kiryu, like, he was after, he loved Yumi, and Yumi got attacked, and Nishiki killed the head of the Yakuza, and Kiryu took the fall for Nishiki because it's like his best friend, and he went to jail for him for 10 years, and like that's already way more interesting than whatever happened in the TV show. I don't even know like why he went to jail. I don't think they've even explained that yet. And they do say like, Kiryu is like, I want to be the Dragon of Dojima, so he goes to the underground fighting area, which you should find that. That's pretty cool in the game. And he's like, I'm gonna become the Dragon of Dojima, and I guess that happens at some point. I don't know. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I'll give it a couple more. I'll get a couple more episodes watch. But I mentioned before this show called Tokyo Vice that was on HBO Max. I think it's probably still on there. The Yakuza show is like way down here at the bottom. Tokyo Vice is like a million times better than this show, but it still has the feeling of a Yakuza game. So if you have Max, watch Tokyo Vice. It's really, really good. Like there were 2 seasons. It's based on a true story too, about an American journalist who worked in Japan and got involved in the Yakuza and all that. And it was great. And it reminded me of a Yakuza game. And I was hoping that we would get that level on the Amazon show, and it's definitely not there. So from what I've seen. So, and that one, I was saying that one had a much higher, I guess what I say, that one looked like a higher budget, but it was better acted. It was better written. Like everything like looked much better, and every spot was important. It didn't, it didn't feel like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know. It felt better, more, more put together and that sort of thing. But anyway, we've been talking for like 50 minutes about Yakuza. We should move on to something else.
Sure.
I figured that I'd get a little bit into it, but, I only have a couple other things that I have. What I should do is I should open my Ease 10 Deluxe Edition that I have, which I got to tell you, I was really disappointed by this Deluxe Edition. I don't know, looking at what it showed me on Amazon versus what I actually got. Like, I don't know if here, let's see, maybe if I can switch the camera on this for the patrons. But it's going to be too bright. Maybe I can share it in the Slack or something. But the Deluxe Edition makes it look like it's gonna come with this big book, this big art book, and all this stuff. So I thought it'd be in like a box or something. And then I got it, and it's just
a regular Switch case.
It looks like just a regular Switch game. I was like, what the fuck? I had to wait 5 days for this.
Where's the art book?
Yeah, where's the book?
So I was
just inside the case.
So Jess and I, we were looking at it earlier, and if you take the picture and you like. You look in the fine print. It says digital soundtrack and mini art book. So I guess the mini art book is in here. So let's take a look. Let's see what we got in here. Let's take a look. See.
I would be impressed if there's a whole like coffee table size book in there.
It just unfolds.
I mean, it's like a mini coffee table. It's like a mini coffee table. It's like a mini coffee shop inside of another coffee shop or something. It's like that Clerks cartoon joke.
Which each coffee shop is its own tiny adult library.
Yeah. And it just found out that the ghost was following you the whole time.
That cellophane sounds like special edition cellophane.
Yeah, right. Deluxe edition cellophane. When I saw it and I saw that it was delivered and it was so small, and then it just says deluxe, just a deluxe edition at the top there. That's what it says. All right, so here we are. Here's our deluxe edition. It's our deluxe edition.
It's all digital.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, so most video games do not come with any sort of manual anymore, But this one has. Here we are, a very super teeny tiny art book.
That looks like. Remember when you got your He-Man figures and you got a little comic book with it?
Oh yeah, no, I still have all those
size.
comics. Actually, I think those are a little bit bigger than this. but the page quality on this is actually better. These pages are thicker. It's like the Image comics versus the Marvel comics. That's a big thing Image did, was they made their page. It wasn't like Bible pages or whatever. It wasn't like super thin. That sort of thing. But yeah, it's a base little tiny, super tiny art book here, which could easily be mistaken for an instruction manual. And here's the code for my digital, which I mean, the Ease soundtracks are always fucking bangers, So I am, I'm
easy there.
I am going to enjoy this soundtrack very much. So here, your patrons, don't steal it. There it is. Don't steal it. I haven't put it up yet. But here we are. It's at least I have it now, but it's kind of uneventful. I thought it was going to be like a big thing. I mean, I was going to take it apart and put it on YouTube, but I'll probably still do that. But yeah, I have East
Does
10
it
now.
taste?
Here it is. No, I'm not tasting those cartridges. It's going to be gross. I'm going to end up like,
Oh, come on. It's easy.
I'm going to end up like puking on the show or something. We can't have that.
You've still never tasted those cartridges, have you?
No, I don't want to. It sounds gross. I don't want to.
I've tasted them.
You have, yeah, and you said they were bad, and that means I don't want to.
Sometimes the forbidden fruit.
But I guess I could say a couple things real quickly, and then we can take a break. So I did. What was it last week? I did play some more Mario Party stuff. I played Rhythm Kitchen, which is pretty cool because it did remind me of Rhythm Heaven. Where it's you basically you're cooking stuff, but you basically move the Joy-Cons to different things, and there's a remix mode where you get to play different. You get to play like the Super Mario Brothers theme. And you'll do different stuff, where you're spreading butter on bread, or you're flipping pancakes at the right time and all that. And it did feel like it felt like a Rhythm Heaven game, like in that sort of way, where you have a song that goes continuously through the whole thing, and you jump from one game to another, and that was really cool. Unfortunately, there's not that much of it. I kind of went through it in maybe an hour or so, and that was that. But
Was this multiplayer or just single player?
it is multiplayer, yeah. You can play four people at once. I was just playing by myself with computer players.
Okay.
But yeah, you can play 4 players at once. There's no online mode to it, from what I could tell. But yeah, it's all like couch co-op stuff. And I found this other thing that's it's basically like a flying crazy taxi thing where you take the Joy-Cons out and you move your arms like you're flapping your wings, and you're you got the Koopa wings, and you're flying around this basket, and you're taking people from one spot to another. It's very much like Crazy Taxi, but you're flapping your wings and moving your arms down or whatever to dive and go up and glide and whatnot. That sort of thing. That was weird. It was definitely tiring to play it. I was like, I'm trying to do this still, but my arms hurt. It kind of reminded me of some of the WarioWare stuff, from the most recent WarioWare Switch game, like that sort of thing.
Or the very first Mario Party, where some of those games are just
yeah, the spinning the analog, which was hazardous to yourself to do. I did that. I did the bomb. There's the bomb one where we fight. Where there's 10 of you and you fight Bowser, and you put all the bombs in a cannon, you shoot them, and you try to do it all in a certain amount of time. None of them were really that fun, honestly. My favorite one was the Rhythm Kitchen. I think that was the best one out of all of them. But it's all it's all the regular Mario Party stuff is the best stuff that's on there. But that's I just wanted to try out the extra shit, and with doing that, you do get achievements for doing it, and the more achievements you get, the more levels you unlock. So I have actually unlocked all of the levels for the game, so I do have all 7 of the levels now. So that's cool. So I got all the boards from playing all that extra shit, and that's kind of why I was doing it, was just to get all that extra stuff. So yeah, that's still pretty cool. But I guess the last thing I'll talk about is DragonForce. Remember that band? You remember the band DragonForce?
Guitar Hero.
from Guitar Hero.
Yeah. So I was like, having as I don't know why when it first came out, I thought it was dumb. When I first heard about Spotify and all those different things, I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But I've actually fallen in love with having a music streaming service. It's pretty rad. I think everybody should have it. You can
more on that later.
You can listen to a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, more on that later for sure. But I have Amazon Music, but they're all kind of the same. Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. But so I made it's Halloween, it's the Halloween week. I was like I want to make a Halloween mix. So I was wanted to do some metal stuff and punk rock or whatever. I did I put AFI Black Sails in the Sunset. I haven't listened to that in a long time. I used to rock the shit out of that in the 90s. I listened to Alkaline Trio's newest album, which it was actually all right. It wasn't that bad, from 2023 or something like that. But I was,
listen to Misfits.
I was going for stuff. Well, I put my favorite Danzig album of all time, Lucifuge. That one was on there. That's Danzig 2. That's the second one, best one there is. I listened to that one as well. I threw some other shit in there. But I want to listen to some metal bands that I really like. There's this one band, Surruption, like they're really cool, or Ingested, I think is the other one. They're both really, really good, like, super like technical, like death metal stuff. And it just, for some reason, like the way they're, like the drums and the guitars and all that reminded me of DragonForce. And I was like, oh, remember DragonForce? Like they were really cool back in the day. So I looked them up, and they had a new album that came out this year. Like it came out in March of 2024. And I've been, I've had a great time listening to new albums this year. There's a lot of really good ones out there. And I was like, oh shit, I want to listen to that. So what is it called? Time Warp Warriors or something like that, I think is what it's called. But the second or third song on there, they actually have a Zelda song. Like DragonForce did a song. They wrote a song about Zelda. It's called like The Power of the Triforce, and it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
like,
I've heard that one before.
I didn't know about it, and I went to I went to hold on. I went to find it's a Warp Speed Warriors is what it's called. Warp Speed Warriors is the new album, and it came out in March 15th, 2024, and the second song, is Power of the Triforce, which is their Zelda game, their Zelda song, and I was listening to it as I was driving around delivering and stuff, and they do actually they say Twilight Princess in there, so I think it's about the Twilight Princess. Even though I went, after I saw this, I was like, oh, I was like, I think all these are about video games, so I looked it up to see, like, I was like, all right, well, I want to know what all these games are about, what all these songs are about, and there's a song in there about Castlevania. There's a song in there about Killer Queen, which I thought was pretty fucking cool. The Killer Queen arcade game. I was like, that's rad.
That is cool.
And that sort of thing.
I wonder, did they do songs about video games before they were featured in Guitar Hero? I mean, I think they really rose to prominence because of Guitar Hero. Maybe they leaned into it.
They were actually already like in. I don't think they were doing pretty good before they showed up in.
I'm sure they were.
I remember.
Maybe I misspoke there, but yep, a lot of folks found out from them because of that game.
I was just gonna say I don't know how many albums they had before Guitar Hero, but I did think they had a couple before like people had not.
I know enough to know that when Guitar Hero 2 came out, people were like, "Put DragonForce on the next one."
So people. No, I think no, you're right, Jeremy. I do think I myself had heard about them before they were in Guitar Hero, but I had never actually heard of them doing specifically songs about video games. But I haven't listened to them since. That album that came out that, that had the song on there that was in Guitar Hero 2 or whatever. So I haven't listened to them in years. And it was just kind of cool to see that they were actually doing video game stuff. And of course, in my mind, while I'm listening to this, I was like, dude, like, can we do like a DragonForce, like Proto Men, like tour together? Like that would fucking blow my mind. Like that would be so fucking cool. Like that would be, I don't know. I was like, yes, that would be rad.
I would be shocked if DragonForce didn't know about Proto Men.
Well, I'm sure they do, but I'm saying we got.
I think they probably knew about Proto Men first because
sure.
As far as I know, they've been a band longer.
DragonForce than Proto Men. I mean,
no Proto Men.
Oh, I mean, I heard about Proto Men from Gabe. From our friend Gabe from.
I want to say late '90s, early 2000s.
Grindhouse Coffee, his place, but I actually randomly ended up at on a TV show, but he wasn't there unfortunately, but. I did get the message to him, but yeah.
I called him and let him know you were going to be there.
Well, I mean, I told the people who worked there. I was like, oh wait, do you know Gabe? Like yeah. I was like, whatever. We were shooting some shit on the beach for another show I was on, but yeah, I remember he told me about it. It must have been like I thought it was like mid 2000s when I first heard about Proto Men. But regardless, it would be really cool to see DragonForce and Proto Men together. And Warp Speed Warriors is pretty good. You should check it out. And so I was listening to this album, and I was just, putting stuff together in my mind. Like, there's one song that I was like, wouldn't it be cool if this was about Blastcore? It's like, they should make an album where it's just about games that Trey likes. So let's do, like, all these, we'll do the Rare game, and then we'll do the Dragon Quest game, and we'll have a Yakuza song in there, like a Kiwami song or whatever. But I listened to all these songs that were pretty cool. And I
love the Fortune Street song they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one. That'd be an awesome one. Yeah, good pull there. But I was listening to it, and the last song on the album is a cover of a Taylor Swift song, and I was listening to it as I was parking, and I was like,
"Oh!" And you were crying,
and I was like, "Oh shit!" No, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Was it from 1989?
Yes, it was. It's actually one of my favorite songs from that album.
I figured.
I've listened to other albums other than that one, But they did a cover of Wildest Dreams, and that was pretty rad to hear that. I was like, oh wait, I know the song, and I was like, oh, this
I
is
prefer
cool.
the Moody Blues version.
Do they have a cover of Taylor Swift?
No, they have a song called Wildest Dreams.
Well, Taylor Swift's Wildest Dream is better. I was telling you that. But no, it was cool. It was a fun time. And then I found out that the lead singer has a solo album that came out the year before, which is also pretty rad
Taylor
as
Swift?
well. No, Mark Hudson from DragonForce.
Oh.
Starbound Stories. Look up that album. That album's really, really good too.
Okay.
They have another Castlevania song in there called Dracula X with an exclamation point, which is really rad. So if you want to hear them sing more about video game stuff, check it out.
Do you think it's about that, or is it the 10th song they've written about Dracula?
I think it's the former. But yeah, no, it was cool to see that DragonForce is still around there and still like really fucking rocking it on there. Yeah. So and the Taylor Swift cover was a nice surprise at the end there. I was like, oh hey, I like that song. So there we go. But I think that's good for me. We can take a break.
Break time.
Break time.
Hey, you.
It's me, Mario.
Yeah, you. Subscribe to our Patreon to hear our bonus shows, which happen every month.
I'm tired.
Tired of all the big corporate podcasts spoon-feeding you the same old video game news on every single show?
Spaghetti. Ravioli.
Then expand!
With NintenDomain Expansion Pack.
It's us talking about old games that were important to us. It's us interviewing people that we meet at conventions. And heck, it's live shows from those same conventions. It's basically everything you could want that NintenDomain ever made.
Here we go!
And it's just $1 a month.
That's less than a bad indie on the eShop.
It's $12 a year, which is less than Nintendo Switch Online.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our Patreon and supporting NintenDomain.
Just go to patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast and, hey, Mario, let go. Whoa! He's throwing us back to the show.
So long, Bowser.
Patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast.
Game over.
Anyway, we're back from the break. I've said enough. You guys talk about all the stuff that you got. I know John's got a big one that we're definitely.
Let's start with John, because I feel like what I have to say is non-Nintendo.
Everything you have to say is important. Oh wait, oh no, I saw the. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you played that. So suspense. But John, Clock Tower, it's out now.
Yeah, man, I'm really enjoying it. I've played this game before on an emulator, which at the time it's like Clock Tower to me is. We can talk about games that deserve a remaster, a little spit shine here and there. This is like the epitome of it. Like playing it back on the emulator. My experience was, this is so unique. This is so original. I can't believe that they're achieving this level of horror on a Super Nintendo. This like psychological horror, different from say the horror of Doom and demons and blood and all that kind of stuff. It has a little bit of that in there, here and there, but it's just like the psychological horror. But it was a little bit marred by some kind of clunky, dated decisions. Like you can run into real dead ends in this game, and when you do, that's it. There's game over, start over, try again. For a point and click adventure, that's really discouraging. But what's there is so enticing that you do want to go back and like try again and see what else there is, because it's so well executed. It's just some outdated, clunky designs that they have successfully smoothed over in this version. You can play the original version of this game, as it was if you choose to. I'm playing the rewind version because I've already tried the emulated version. And it's just, it really brings out, I think this game was always, a diamond in, it brings off, it scrubs away the rough in the phrase diamond in the rough. It's just like, they've done a great job. This is a way forward collaboration with, Sunsoft, who made the original game, and Capcom, who now holds the license to Clock Tower. There's some kind of confusion there.
Do they? I never associated Clock Tower with Capcom.
Because Capcom made versions on the PS2. Okay. So the Sunsoft apparently, in their dire straits, gave up the license and sold it off to Capcom. And Capcom made, I'm probably getting this wrong, they made versions on the PS2. I think they made 2 or 3 of them. And so I think they really had nothing to do with this game at all. I mean, this is the original Clock Tower, but there must be some legal thing that they had to be credited on this game, and they are. And then Limited Run is involved, and it's just like this, all-star team coming together to make this game, to shine a little light on this hidden gem that has never been before released in the United States officially. So I was really excited about this game from the moment that it was announced. I want to say over a year ago, and here it is. I've been diving into it the past 2 days now, and I want to say, first of all, like, I don't typically like point and click adventures on consoles. I just don't like them because the format is not made for it. Using a D-pad and all that.
Can't do the mouse stuff.
Yeah, you can't do them. It's made for a mouse, really.
In a way, the idea is to kind of like, when you're thinking, you're kind of like moving your mouse around. Your little reticule is kind of like, you can't do that on a console.
Except that this is the best point and click that I've ever played on a console. It's because there's a couple reasons for that. Like the genre, first of all, and the pacing of this game, it demands that you slow down. Like, I think they made a really wise choice. If they're going to do a point and click game, make it a horror game, so that you have to like take a step back and look and examine the scenery and let that be part of building the tension and all that stuff.
It's kind of funny because it's literally in the title that it's a clock. Like, you think that the tension would be part of it.
Yeah, and in the extras, because there's extras on this, you can watch interviews with the director. One of the things that he mentioned was that he was really inspired by, of course, the Dario Argento films. That's pretty well known about this game.
Well, the Dario Argento film, the Phenomena, the Creepers.
Well, that one specifically, movie. But he name drops Suspiria, and he says he's a fan of Dario Argento and wanted to translate his work into a game.
And we had actually watched that movie. Well, Jess and I watched I think it was called Phenomena on Shudder. We watched this like 2 or 3 years ago, just because we were watching a bunch of Dario Argento stuff, and then I found out later that that Clock Tower was based on it, or at least that's what they say. Which you confirmed that through these interviews.
Videos. Yeah. Well, he was saying that he wanted to make this. The Dario Argento experience into a video game, but how do you do that? How do you translate that kind of horror into a video game? Well, he said in movies, the one benefit that they have is time, that they can, as a director or filmmaker, you can control time, and that's how you kind of, play with suspense. But you can't do that in a video game. So that was just like, he was really at the forefront of his mind of how to build the tension. And one way was making it a point and click. Another way was putting throwing in certain sounds there. Like it's so interesting because the game is practically silent. There's music is used sparingly. Most of the time, you're just hearing the noises of the mansion and her footsteps as she's walking along, and it all just works together to create this really tense atmosphere, which I personally have never experienced in a such relatively primitive in this day and age video game. Going back to the 16-bit era and before, I can't really say I've ever experienced a game that builds tension and really effectively creates a scary atmosphere. And this does. Like, I'm sitting here playing it after work, and 9 p.m. is dark out, and like just having the sounds of the game echo through my apartment. It's creepy. And there's certain sound effects, like there's one particular sound effect when Scissor Man appears, and I'm not going to do it justice by trying to just make the noise. That sound effect, just like, it kind of like cuts to the bone and makes you tense up. And here comes this goofy little man with his giant scissors chasing after you, but it's actually kind of creepy. You're sitting up straight and you're trying to figure out. You're scanning the scenery as he's slowly approaching you, because he doesn't run. He's slowly approaching you, and you can hear him approaching off screen. You can hear the scissors getting louder, and you're examining the scenery in the backgrounds to find the thing that you can click on to interact with, to hide somewhere, or to grab this weapon that's going to give you a little bit of distance between you and the giant scissors that are about to cut you in half. It's really successful. I don't know. It's successful at creating horror with such limited resources back in the 16-bit era. So I hope my excitement for the game is coming across. I'm just really impressed by it. What do you guys know of Clock Tower?
The only thing I know is what you said of it, and I heard like Retronauts talk about it on their Halloween episode or whatever, but I don't
Same.
know that much else of it. But I do remember you. We did a Halloween episode a few years ago where you talked about the same thing about the sound of the scissors, like going like closer and closer from like room to room. And this is just from the emulator version, not even the new one. So I do remember hearing that before. But it's one of those things, like I'm interested in it, but I was kind of hesitant because of like the age of it, and like how playable it would be now, like that sort of thing, like how much, like how, I don't know, like, like sometimes like older things, yeah, sure, they're cooler, but if you haven't played them before, they can still be annoying and it's hard to get into it and that sort of thing. So I was kind of hesitant in it in that way, and also I'm broke, so I didn't get it for that reason as well. But I don't know so for somebody who had never played it before, I didn't know anything about it. Like, how do you think? Do you think it's approachable in that way?
Very, very, yeah. It's not first of all, you do have to kind of step back and realize that this is different from pretty much any other Super Nintendo game that you've played before. It's not an action game. It's not Castlevania.
I was gonna say technically like Super Famicom, right? Because it was only Japanese or only Japan.
Yep, correct. So once you get past that, like, let the game be what it is. Don't expect that it's an action game. It is a point and click adventure, but it's just done really well for the first time in my experience on a console.
So you keep saying point and click for like a Super Famicom thing, but from what I understood, I thought you just like moved around like you would in any 2D thing. Like, how do you? What is the point and clicking aspect of it? Do you like hit a button and then it turns into a mouse hand, or what? Like,
how you control it? The game is entirely on. It's 2D, and to move her left, you clicked the left shoulder button. To move her right, you click the right shoulder button.
Oh, okay.
And she'll keep walking. You don't have to hold the buttons. You click the button once, and she keeps walking in that direction forever. When you want her to stop, you press X, and the entire time you're using either the D-pad or the analog stick as the cursor.
Oh, to point. Okay, yep. I guess I never really knew like how the game actually played. Like how you would actually control it, because I've never really, I haven't really watched any replays of it or whatever. I just heard you talking about it, and I was interested in checking it out. But like I said, October, they released like 3 million games for Switch or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
a lot.
It's been an insane amount of stuff. And also, like, in a couple weeks, we got Mario and Luigi and Dragon Quest 3 like back to back. So I'm trying to, trying to budget it out there because I don't want to miss either of those. So I'm kind of.
I get the feeling that you'd you would enjoy this game. I know you say you're not a big point and click fan, but it's so much.
I'm not, but I am a big horror fan.
Yeah, it's if you just for the sheer curiosity of how do you create like a really effective horror experience on the Super Famicom / Super Nintendo. Yeah, this one takes the cake. It's the scariest game I think of the 16-bit era, at least that I've experienced.
I'm definitely very interested in it, but I was trying to think of like I don't know, like what I mean. It would be like the first game that scared me. I was probably like I thought Doom 64 was pretty scary at the time, just because of the audio, because it had like the crying babies and stuff in the background, like just the way they did the audio stuff for that. I thought had its own like creepiness to it, and where like and some of the fade outs, they kind of just like smear like the graphics, just the presentation. I thought was pretty creepy at the time. But that was 64. I was trying to think of a Super Nintendo game that necessarily scared me, and I couldn't really think of one.
So one thing that I'm thinking about as I'm playing this game is I can realize why Nintendo of America did not bring it over here. And I think it's not a particularly gory game. There's moments of gore. When Scissor Man attacks you with the scissors, you don't actually, it doesn't show her getting ripped apart or whatever. It shows no blood at all, actually, in that moment. She just kind of gets knocked over, and it's sort of implied that she's.
But that sound effect is very visceral.
The sound effect is very visceral, and her scream is actually really effective, too. And where was I going with that? I don't know. It's
horror being created by lack of details instead of like all the details. Maybe like it's implied like something's going wrong.
Well, you were talking about like why it wasn't released in America. Why?
Oh,
why
yeah.
you think it was released in America?
But I think it's more the overall, the cumulative feeling, the fact that it's so effective at creating this sense of unease. I could imagine, in 1995, some 9-year-old playing this game and their parent walking in and just saying, "What is this?" And not having a specific reason, not having something specific to point to, but just like between the music and the sense of being alone and just some really effective, sound effect. It just creates this uneasy atmosphere that I think would not have sat well with Nintendo of 1995. Like, I don't think this is right for American kids. It does a great job of just making you feel uneasy.
It apparently it did have a re-release for Wii and Wii U, but only in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it has been on other Nintendo systems. I mean, well, we could go back, it's like Yakuza, I don't think people know, but Yakuza, there was actually Yakuza 1 and 2, the PlayStation 2 versions were actually released on Wii U in Japan as well. And, it was Japan only, but I always thought that was the main reason why they never released it for Switch, because that one didn't do as well as they thought, but also it was for Wii U only and only in Japan. Like, what do you expect?
Well, I hope this gets it the attention that it deserves. I think there's a lot of forward-thinking things in here, and it has the one aspect that I know that you guys both appreciate in story-based games. There's multiple endings in this one, and I did technically beat it today, but I got the worst ending.
Oh,
and it was one of those memorable moments. I really appreciated that. I was presented with a particular choice. Not going to give any spoilers, and I was like, "They're not going to let me do the worst choice, are they? They're not going to let me. No, they're not going to let me do the worst choice." And I selected the worst choice, and then it kind of obviously suggested, like, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? And I pressed it, a third time, and then it's like, okay, let me do that, and that was it. That was the end of the game.
that's like that ghost on the train on Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door, where you get the where you get the diary of the ghost, and he's like, don't look at it, and it's like, do you want to look at it? And it's like, yeah, and it's like, do you really want to look at it? And you're like, yeah, and you're like, it's like, do you really, really want to look at it? And you're like, yeah, and then you die, and then it's game over, and then you get killed, but it does that like 4 or 5 times. It's like, do you really, really, really want to look at it? I remember playing it on GameCube and doing that, and then you get a game over. So if you hadn't like saved, like, you'll lose your progress or whatever. But it does like try to like be like, hey, do you really, really, really want? It's like the ghost told you not to look at it, so don't do it. Like, and I did look at it on the Switch one just because I wanted to see what was in there. And it's just like day one, I felt like this, and then it just kind of fades out to game over or whatever. But I wanted to see what was actually in there and see if it would show it to you or whatever. I had a similar thing in Yakuza Kiwami where I had to where somebody's like, he's like, I'm going to give you some money and go pick up this bag for me, but don't look at it. And I looked at it because I was like, what's in there? And it ended up being used panties is what it was in Yakuza. That's something you have to look forward to for those submissions. Like I said, they get weird.
I would be staring at that bag the whole time I was holding it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a paper bag. Like, it was already open, and it's basically like, do you want to
I'd just be like,
It's like, do you want to look down? It's like, you could just look down. It's right there. You don't even have to open it, you know. But then you tell the guy about it, and he's like, oh, I'm so ashamed, but I have it now, so thank you. You know, it's very very Yakuza in that way, but it's still fun.
Also, be clear, as long as those panties were from a woman of consenting age, and they also consented to.
Well,
that.
you paid. I mean, you paid a female to get it from or whatever. He said you had to like say a secret code like to a specific female or whatever, and then you got the panties from them. Also, I guess what I forgot to mention earlier was I do kind of miss the controller glowing, because in the PS4 version, whenever you switch to a different fighting style, it glowed in a different color because it had that big light on the front. So when you're in beast mode, it was all yellow. So that was cool. Or it'd be pink for rush and and
it was all yellow.
It was pink for rush and it was blue for the regular mode.
Coldplay.
And there's the dragon. I forget what color the dragon mode was, but yeah, that was a cool thing. Aside from the controller, aside from the controller dying in 2 hours. But yeah, but what were you saying about Clock Tower?
One more interesting thing that kind of sets it apart from other from other point-and-click adventures.
Other FPSs.
Yes, not an FPS. Is that there's a stamina system, which I thought was pretty cool. And another way to help, again, with the pacing, to make you slow down and to lend itself to the creepiness. So the running will cost you stamina. So you're just encouraged to move through the game slowly. And again, take a look at the backgrounds and, figure things out. But as you're running from the scary things that happen throughout the game, you're losing your stamina, but your stamina is something you need in order to save you at the last minute from Scissor Man. So if you have enough stamina, you can mash the B button as he's attacking you with the scissors, and you can find a way to fight him off. Like, I picked up a shovel at one point, and I had enough stamina to use the shovel and shove him away. So that was helpful. And I just think they've come up with some really creative solutions to again find ways to build tension in a video game at this time when you couldn't really use time and the other sort of resources that a film could use. I think their goal was to make a Dario Argento style film into a video game, and I think they succeeded. It just feels like uneasy throughout, and yeah, hats off to them, and I hope that they get the kudos overseas here that they were denied because this game was never released before. Hope lots of people find out about this game through this release.
It actually was released for PlayStation. I thought it was released in. It says it was released on PSN. Maybe not in America, but it was on the PlayStation Network.
As far as I know, this is the first time it's been localized.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it wasn't localized yet because it's on WonderSwan, but we didn't have those. But it was released on a few things. But there's sequels.
I think
too,
that because the director did mention
ones
in the extras it coming out on PlayStation, but I think that it might have been playable on one of the sequels. Like, it might have been an unlockable thing or whatever, but not its own release.
Yeah, well, according to maybe it was only two, maybe it was only the second one, but there was one that was released in 1997 on PlayStation 1. There's a North American version.
It was a case of Final Fantasy 3 versus 6, where they called it Clock Tower, but it was actually Clock Tower 2.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there was Clock Tower 2 that was released as Clock Tower 1 for PlayStation. But there's other ones, so they should release those as well on Switch.
Yeah, I want to play those for sure.
Keep them going.
Oh, the other thing that I was going to say, less exciting, I got a new wallet case, and it low-key has a Triforce on it.
Low-key?
A phone case, excuse me. Low-key Triforce.
Phone case.
Yep.
Oh, but did you not order it to have a Triforce? It just looks like it, or did you pick that device up?
I picked it because it
Sort of
had
looks
the
like a
Triforce
Triforce.
Oh,
on
I
it.
totally see it.
It's got some triangles on it.
It's a Triforce. Come on.
So as a phone case, they can put your like it like
Yep.
has RFID shielding and like you can use your card from it or whatever.
No, it is a cheap $10 case that I found on Amazon.
Oh,
What is it?
I thought
What
maybe you
is
were
it? What is LFI shielding? Does that keep that
RFID would be
that
like
tag team from you?
you couldn't be like there's certain I don't know there's certain for instance like state IDs and stuff have like RFID chips in them and they can be read by external devices. So if you have RFID shielding, then those devices couldn't read your stuff.
I've got Triforce shielding.
Yes.
Nothing will get through
You have
this.
the power of the Triforce.
Is it the power or is it the knowledge? Or
You-
wait, is it power and
Courage.
wisdom and courage?
Wisdom. It's the power of the Triforce that
I would say it's
The-
courage because courage is like the dumbest version.
it's the version that the patrons heard in the break there when I played the Triforce.
Yeah, courage is
version
the
of
dumb version of
Triforce.
those three.
Courage is the worst Triforce.
I mean, it's just like blind faith, you know.
Also speaking
Pretty
to
dumb.
the patrons or either two of you, I just realized you know what, like you guys could totally take this. Could totally take this code because I've actually already downloaded the soundtrack to East 10 because it
You have
came
Jeremy.
because it came out.
I already like tweeted it on my socials on Truth Social and
I'm just saying anybody who wanted to take
what's his
this,
face?
you could
Ben
use it,
Hammond or whatever
and you
his
can
name is,
actually
took it over.
you can actually download it 3 times. So, but I actually have the soundtrack already because this game came out over a year ago in Japan. So I've already actually downloaded the soundtrack to East 10. So if anybody wants it, you can totally take it. Go for it.
Damn stains.
That's it for me.
Well, cool. I hope I can get through this quick because I'm not going to talk about my Switch activity. I'm going to be purely non-Tendomain.
Because we still got a couple news things that I want to.
Exactly. So I thought it would be very important as the the PlayStation 5 owner of the
Podcast.
of the collective, yes, of the podcast. I played the Monster Hunter Wilds beta.
Nice.
It was only available on the PS5
for
You can
3
even play it
days,
on
right?
PC.
Monday
Yeah.
through Wednesday or through today or something like that. It was only
Correct.
only available for a few days. I was actually I talked to Shake about it on Monday during our stream. We actually did we played AW Fight Forever again finally. But I talked to him about it. And he's like, should I? Because he doesn't even have. He has a PlayStation 5 and he doesn't play it. And he doesn't even have like the online mode either. He's like, should I even pay for it to do the Monster Hunter? I was like, it's only like $10 a month. Like, try it out, But I don't think he ended up doing it. But you did because you have it. So how was it?
Well, it wasn't for the specific reason. I just wanted the bonus games, and I just wanted to be able to stay online when I played Elden Ring. Was the ultimate reason.
Oh sure, yeah.
But yeah, I
kept it in hopes to play Street Fighter 6 against somebody, which I've never done, but someday I will.
But yeah, I was able to get the Wilds beta, and I only played it. I started last night playing it, and it has you go through a whole very cinematic kind of intro where you actually get to like test out your fighting and like all that stuff. But it's a very much like a story based intro to the systems, and then all of a sudden they just let you loose. I think that's like every Monster Hunter from what I've heard. But it's a really beautiful game. Like it is truly open world from what I can tell. You can't say that when you're playing a demo. It's not open world. It's the fucking demo length.
They only give you a couple monsters too, right? From what I heard, there's a couple guys in there that you can fight. But I guess it's just a lot of it's just supposed just to give you the idea of how it feels, right? Like and how you can move around and that sort of thing.
So one big thing I noticed is that I don't care what system I'm playing Monster Hunter on. It's going to feel weird because the controls are fucking weird how they work. And
sure, yeah.
You can remap the buttons and all that, but there's a lot of like holding a button down and doing stuff. Like, for instance, the biggest one is holding down L1 and then using the plus and circle buttons to cycle through your menu. instead of like using like a rotary menu or something, which I think that might actually exist in here. But I was just like, when I'm playing it, I'm like, I'm kind of remembering Rise that came out in 2020 or whatever it was. So it's been a long time since I played it, but I'm sort of kind of remembering the controls, and they came back to me with time. But I will say one great thing about this game, they got rid of the Palamutes. Meow.
I like the Palamutes.
I miss my Palamute.
But they replaced it with something, I'm sure.
They basically replaced it with Chocobo. Like if you've played
sure.
Final Fantasy Rebirth or whatever, like
the Chocobo.
You've got a Chocobo. And it's a more lizardy version of that,
but it doesn't have that sick song, obviously.
It does not.
Well, because that's Square, and it's not Square, it's Capcom. But yeah.
But this thing is your personal taxi. In fact, you don't even have to control it. If you just want to put it on auto, you can select where on the map you want it to go, and it will go. And I will say, these maps are giant, the ones I've seen. Massive maps, really interesting terrain that seems like it covers a lot of different biomes. And I've got to tell you, I've never felt so bad for killing a monster in Monster Hunter. And, I've only really played Rise, so
but
fair enough.
They always tell you there's a purpose, right? Aside from just making great outfits out of their skin or whatever,
So I got through, whatever the initial, they have you go through a tutorial mission, and I beat that. And then I got to the city, basically the hub. And then they're like, well, the first thing you can do is go like prove yourself and go hunt down this monster. Turns out that monster was like an alpha version of a certain monster and had a bunch of like beta dudes hanging around it. So you have to like learn how to distract the other monsters before you can even fight that monster. But here's the thing. Once I even did that, once I got it working, which I did not use the dung bombs. I can't figure those shits out.
Dung bombs? Like poop bombs?
Dung. Yeah. Dung. I can't figure out how those shits work. I've tried them when I'm on my my mount and when I'm solo. I just can't get them to work right. But supposedly they're the key to getting the cronies to like back off of the big monster you're trying to fight. But they're all the big monster, it's just the biggest version of the one you're trying to kill. So that's kind of how it works. Like in the open world, you could do things a lot of different ways, but ultimately the best way to do it is use your mount, which I wish I could remember what they're called. It's got a weird name, and that's why I can't remember it. But
use your Chocobo.
It's basically a Chocobo. But you get on it, and it just automatically like pursues the monster you're chasing. And in the meantime, you could sharpen your blade with the whetstone. I remember that. And you can heal and you can buff and stuff. So
it's been in the other ones. I mean, the whetstone's always there.
You don't have to actually control the mount, and it also can like climb up like sheer rock faces and like jump and do like gliding stuff. It's pretty cool. I didn't notice the maps being any smaller than Rise. That's the only one I've really played, but I did get a bigger sense of scope from them, and I think that's probably kind of what they're going for here. Once I got through the initial kind of tutorial mission, they sent me down the town. I get to start talking to different people and stuff, and they're all like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm not ready to do anything yet. I'm like, okay, this must be because it's a demo. I can't buy any armor. I can't like do anything cool.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, most of their demos you just play the monsters.
So like go out in the wild and hunt this alpha monster. I can't remember what the name of the monster was, but I found out pretty quick. You're running out into the open world, it's a big open space, but you're not just fighting that monster. You have to distract all of its betas and its gammas and its deltas or whatever. Like, it's surrounded by other monsters. You have to like get them off of the trail so you can just take that monster down. And that was so fun. I had such a good time with that. I did not do well with using my distractions. Mostly I just like kind of took them out one by one and kind of flipped around between attacking like the alpha and the other ones. But eventually I got to the point where I had the alpha like, isolated in one spot. I'm just beating the shit out of him. And then he starts like trying to run away and he can't even like jump. He like crawls over this wall. Like his legs don't work anymore because I just beat the shit out of his legs. Like, I felt bad. I watched him crawl up that hill and I felt bad. I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, I'm playing this game right now. And here's a big thing about this game. Like, when you're fighting the monsters, they develop wounds. Depending on where you're hitting them the most, like, they'll like develop these wounds. And then the strategy is to just try to attack the wounds until, like, essentially they break and, like, either they lose total functionality in that limb or whatever, but it's fucked up. You're just beating the shit out of these monsters and like
That's how you got to do it.
they're not even attacking you. You're going after them, and they're defending themselves. But like eventually this monster, like I was fighting it and it was like, you need to summon, you need to summon help. You need to summon, even if it's AI characters or whatever. And I didn't do that. I just kept chasing this dude around everywhere and just doing it by myself. And eventually I beat him, but man, it was the most pathetic thing. I've never felt, short of like Shadow of the Colossus, I've never felt so guilty about killing an enemy. Like this enemy was literally like, he would like roar at me and then he would turn around and he'd try to run away, but then his legs would fail and he would just kind of drag himself a little bit and I'd run up and smack him in the head. You know what I mean? Like this dude didn't want to fight me anymore. I just kept chasing him down. It's fucked up. Anyway, I gotta say, it was fun. It looks really good. Like I said, there's no palamutes, but you get this like kind of raptor chocobo hybrid that you get to ride around, and that's basically your taxi. Like you can select from an overhead map, like where that's gonna head, and then you can just do your buffing or whatever while it's taking you there, and then you control the speed as well, like. It'll just go at like a steady pace, but you can hold a button down and then it runs faster. But I gotta say, one of the coolest things, and I haven't quite worked it out yet, but the weapon I used was like the sword that could also turn to an axe. But I guess you could actually equip two different weapons.
Yeah, you can have two weapons. I was going to ask what your
weapon while you're on like not horseback, but birdback or whatever.
Chocobo back.
It's going to be a different. Yeah, it's going to be a different weapon, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I've had so much fun with it. I'm actually sad to see it go, and I did not even try the multiplayer yet. Like, from what I can tell, there's an item called the flare. It's like called the SOS flare, and you can throw that up at any time, and folks will just show up to help you out. It'll either be player-controlled characters. If they don't show up after a certain time, then you'll have like AI characters that are like folks from like the village or whatever. But I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't remember shit about Monster Hunter, and it did a really good job and kind of like guided me through it and showed me the story and reminded me of those really fucking weird ass controls, like hold down R1 and then use plus and circle to cycle through the menu. That's the fucking worst part. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why do you use base buttons to cycle through a menu? Anyway, that's how Monster Hunter works, and I had a good time with it, and it was free, and I am very interested in it, and I have half a mind to buy this game when it comes out.
It's come out in February. You got some time to save. It's gonna be a big February. I think. What did they move? They moved like the new Yakuza game, like a week past that one because they didn't want to release on the same week. It's like before or after the Majima pirate one.
I can't even like begin to explain how good this looks. Like, imagine how good Rise looked on the Switch, and everybody's just like, "How the fuck does this game look so good on the Switch?"
I believe it.
It looks really, really good.
I believe it.
In demo form.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter. Yeah, it's been always looked good on various systems,
and that's why I feel guilty about the monsters because they look so realistic.
You can feel their pain. That's how realistic they are.
I can see their suffering graphically.
But you didn't play Banjo-Tooie? I saw that. I saw that in your notes there.
I booted it up, but
I didn't play.
mostly
I
I
didn't
was
play it
just
either.
like, I want to play Kazooie. I want to finish that before I play Tooie. So I
I
really want to see if the stop and swap shit is in there, which I haven't actually looked up.
I don't think
It may
it is.
or
I don't
may
think it is. I don't think it is because I think it's a direct ROM of the 64 game,
Okay.
which didn't have that. That's what I get. I haven't played it yet, but I watched a Nintendo Life review of it, and I was actually a little more interested in playing Banjo-Tooie just because there is actually some first-person shooter stuff in there, which I didn't know about that, where you can run around and shoot stuff with Kazooie's face, and that looked cool, but I've been too distracted by Yakuza, so I didn't play it, and I don't know why I will because I got Ease 10 now. But we should talk about our news because we're already like it's my fault. It's my fault because I talked about almost an hour about Yakuza, but that's that game I can rant about for a long time.
Your back tattoos tell the same story.
It's still there, yeah. I have my Dragon of Dojima back tattoo. I also got the Majima one. I got all the tattoos. They're all together. Like it's just really small. You can't see it 'cause it's tiny. But I spent a lot of money on it, so you need a magnifying glass to see it. But yeah, let's talk about the news because a lot of shit happened since last week.
News. Don't snooze or you miss the news.
Number one, I have to say it because I said at the beginning of the show, Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming to Switch.
How the fuck didn't this happen in a direct?
The gold mine
on a bingo card.
Yeah, they just like dropped it. They just dropped it as a fucking YouTube video
I'm so
yesterday.
pissed that I can't use that as a bingo space anymore because that was like one of my things for like the past 4 years.
I've watched the trailer like 3 or 4 times, and I've watched like people talk about it or whatever, on YouTube and whatnot. And I've seen the trailer like over and over and over again. And yeah, just like watching it, like it being like Monolith Soft and just showing the way it built up and showed part of it, like that would have been so much cooler to see in a direct than seeing it as a YouTube video that says Xenoblade Chronicles X. Like it would have been much more fun to just not know what it was and just see it and be like, holy shit, there it is.
I think especially since it's like, I think it might be connected to the main story, but it's like mostly its own thing. So
it's gonna be though, because
you could have brought it back and created this own mystique about it instead of being like meow 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 yeah eckity spackety Xenoblade.
Well, it's gonna be directed to the regular Xenoblade 1 through 3, I think, because every Xenoblade that has been re-released on Switch, there's, or even the ones that were new, they've always had this extra DLC thing to it. Like when they did the Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition, we had like the epilogue that was like another 20 hours on there, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had the like the Torna, the whatever. They had that on there as well, and Xenoblade Chronicles X had the Future Redeemed, which the Future Redeemed actually referenced Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenosaga as well, which I was kind of hoping that maybe that would be in there. But yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X on Switch, yes. And I watched people breaking it down and like showing that it has higher resolution, like the faces look better on there and all that. And I was like, I put like 200 plus hours into this game. Do I really want to start it over again?
I was going to say, this is
yes,
the only reason
will.
I would replay it is for this reason. And
For
I've
Switch.
said that for years now. I would boot it back up if it wasn't on a fucking thumb drive on my Wii U, which I don't even know if I could boot it up again if I tried. I haven't even tried recently.
I have it on an external drive as well on my Wii U also. But what was it? I was listening to Good Vibes Gaming or something like that. One of those YouTube channels talking about it. And they said that the original Xenoblade Chronicles X ending didn't really have an ending, I guess, or it had like a major cliffhanger. And they were saying that it was gonna have a different ending on this one. But I guarantee you that it's gonna have the full game, but it's gonna have an extra thing that's gonna tie Xenoblade X into Xeno 1 through 3. I guarantee that's gonna happen. Because like I said, every Xenoblade game, even the new ones, have always had an extra thing on there that like it has its own like 20-30 hour campaign aside from the regular one. So I guarantee it's gonna be on there. But yeah, it looks great, and soundtrack amazing, and I don't know. We could use that to segue to the other soundtracks that are out on the internet now. And I think John has actually spent the most time with this. I just played a couple Animal Crossing songs. That's about all I've done. But they announced that there's Nintendo Music for Nintendo Switch Online, which
Yeah.
cool. Actually,
It sounds like a joke.
I put it on Slack, and I also messaged friend of the show John Wedgeworth about it once I saw it, because I messaged John because I told him, I was like, I messaged you because I know you love video game music as much as I do, so I wanted to share it with you, and I shared it with you too as well. But and he said that it totally made his night and sent me a bunch of texts about it and was really loving it.
I'm super curious
yeah.
how much this has to do with the alarm clock. Like if that's going to be.
Yeah, I can see some
Part of it.
integration. Yeah, I didn't think about that for sure. So, one reason that this is coming out now is that we are in the week of the anniversary of when we all first started paying for Nintendo Switch Online.
Oh,
Remember
so
it
it's
was-
about to like start
Right.
over again.
I just got charged for it yesterday.
I just got charged for it. Yep.
Yeah,
So it's an incentive.
I forgot
to
about
say,
it
Hey,
because
keep on paying us money.
I saw it in my email, and they're like, "Oh, you paid for shit on Nintendo." I was like, "No, I didn't." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, all right, never mind."
Yeah,
I thought it got hacked
50
for a
bucks.
second, but it didn't.
But honestly, this is a pretty good incentive and a big deal. Like, I think we all wrote this off as something that Nintendo would never do.
Yeah, absolutely. And their own
I mean,
music service.
I
too.
mean,
Yeah.
it makes fucking sense though. I mean, this is
Yeah.
what I was trying to like get to, like, however long it was when I was talking about like DragonForce and like streaming music services and all that. Like, I mean, most there are a lot of video game soundtracks that are actually available on there. Like, I've listened to like the Street Fighter 6 soundtrack, or like Sonic Frontiers, or like there's a whole bunch of indie stuff on there as well that
I
I've
say all
listened
the indie stuff
that I've listened to on Amazon Music or whatnot, or I've paid for or bought or whatever. But Nintendo has never really done that, which is fucking annoying. But Jess and I, we went on our honeymoon. We went to Japan. We went to a fucking Virgin Megastore, because it actually still exists somehow in Japan. And you can buy soundtracks to like fucking Fire Emblem or WarioWare or whatever. Like, they're there, and on CDs, because people still pay for that. And it's like, I don't know. It felt like why not? Like, it made so much sense. Like, yeah, do a fucking Nintendo Music thing, and maybe that'll bring more people to the Nintendo Switch Online, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I thought that was a fucking. I don't know. I thought that was a stellar move there. Like, yeah,
So
let's do
I
it.
wonder also if there wasn't like a deliberate delay announcement because of like Smash
again?
Bros. Ultimate. Well, a delay an announcement because Smash Bros. Ultimate has like the option to listen to the music while it's on sleep mode, right?
Well, yeah, like through your Switch, though. I mean,
But
I don't-
still,
it's
like,
not as convenient
kind
as
of-
like playing it through your car or whatever through your phone.
in a way,
I don't
it's
know.
kind of already been there, and I wonder if like this wasn't delayed as a result of that. Like, if it wasn't like we don't want to step on Sakurai's toes, let's give.
But how many times? Let me ask you: how many times did you take your Switch into your car and actually listen to Smash Brothers music on your like in your car on your stereo?
0 times.
Exactly.
I used
But how
YouTube
many
to play
times
songs.
am I going to actually do this? Like, way more
But to
than that.
Jeremy's credit, Nintendo gets weird about stuff like that. Like,
Well, yeah, they said you could do
I
that,
think
but I
weird.
mean, but I've never. But also, I can't like. I think I've tried to. I can't even hook up to the Bluetooth of my car
I
through
mean,
my
I've straight up
Switch.
hooked a Game Boy
you know?
Advance to the car. We've been there. We've done that together before.
Yeah, we did, but that was when it was all analog and we could plug it in. But I can't even do like Bluetooth through my car. My car has Bluetooth, but I can't do that through the Switch. And I will actually use this because I listen.
Oh,
to,
I'll use the
I
shit
listen,
out of this.
I listen to
definitely
shit on my.
use this.
I listen to music on my phone all the time, but I'm not.
I only
I'm
play
not
this
bringing
at
my
work
fucking Switch
so
out
much.
to listen to it on the. Like whatever. Like, yeah, who cares? Who gives a
Because
shit
we
about
have a
Smash
Bluetooth
Brothers?
speaker at work, and we kind of like hand it off to whoever wants to play music.
Yeah.
And, usually I do my Spotify or whatever, but I'm gonna switch to the Nintendo app. I'm gonna start playing.
Absolutely.
And speaking of music, patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast. I just put out the newest WART radio, and it's pretty rad. It's mostly Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, but there's a large amount of gimmick songs on there. So
Very nice.
I was listening to it while I was mowing the
Things
lawn
to
earlier.
capture you and make you think something special, but it's really not.
The what?
Oh, you mean gimmick like the game, not like
No.
gimmick to
No,
attract them.
no, the game. Well, it's funny because there's actually 2 versions of Happy Birthday on the episode
I'm gonna listen to
because
this one.
because we did the interview with because we have the David Wise remix of Happy Birthday, and we also have the original Happy Birthday from the top 5 video game composers episode that we did. That's also on Patreon. So check that out.
I'm actually excited. Next week, we have to come back to this Nintendo music and be like, what did we do with it this week?
What do we think about it? Yeah.
Well, how did we use it? Like,
I definitely want to try it out.
Situations or whatever.
You know what? I don't know. I didn't find it. I looked for it on. Like I said, I only used it for a second. I played a couple Animal Crossing songs in there, but I felt like it was a missed opportunity because I couldn't find any Xenoblade Chronicles music on there. Like you just said that Xenoblade Chronicles X was coming to Switch.
Mm.
Why is that fucking stellar ass soundtrack not on there? Like.
Because they're going to use it the same way that they use Tetris 99. They're going to put out soundtracks.
They'll put it out when it releases.
Promote it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I was just like,
yeah, it's a new.
I'm just saying.
Promotion.
You're right. I fucking love that soundtrack, and that was one of our first episodes that we got downloaded a lot back when we were doing a podcast. About the Wii U or whatever. Like I
Back
felt
when
like
we used to do a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that was one of the first times that we got some decent traffic was on that Xenoblade Chronicles X.
We posted on I-80. That helped.
And somehow I found the soundtrack online and I put it on there. And I felt we were ahead of the curve as far as podcasts go because nobody was talking about Xeno X. But yeah, it's an incredible game and. Yeah, it sucked it wasn't in there. But yeah, what were you going to say?
I got to say this about the music service. Well, first of all, I counted. There's 23 games, 23 albums, if you will.
But no Xenoblade?
Each of them
what is in there?
I mean, there's
20
a bunch of stuff.
What do
but, each of them has, from the Game Boy games is 4 songs per up to the N64, like on Ocarina. They have all the songs. There's 80 tracks on there.
Okay.
And so I think they've got a good amount of tracks on there.
Can you make a playlist?
Yes,
can you make a playlist? Like,
Yeah,
can you play something and make a queue and all that? Like,
yes, you can do that.
I'm interested
Okay,
in the mood-based playlist just because once again it reminds me of the alarm clock. It's like, what does Nintendo really think about my health based on descriptors?
Well, you can also you can do stuff by characters, which is pretty interesting. I'm looking at it right now. Like you can look at so it's like, oh wait,
I choose the character C.
Well, it's like KK Slider, no lyrics, KK Slider with lyrics. Like that's pretty awesome. Like to have
cool.
The division between those two. Or it's
it feels pretty much like a modern music app. That's what I'm most impressed by it.
That's what I want it to be.
You hit the lock screen and the artwork from the album, quote unquote, appears on your phone screen. So, little touches like that. It just feels like Spotify or whatever else.
Yeah, and it's got all the artwork from all the different KK songs too. Like everyone you play, it shows the artwork from the Animal Crossing game, which is pretty amazing. So
I'm also extremely impressed that it's called Nintendo Music and not some weird ass shit.
Yep, they went simple with it.
Yeah.
Well, they did like Apple at some point when they were cool still. So maybe.
But you know what I mean? Like they had to have secured it, and they were ready to rock with this Nintendo Music app.
It's like, what was this actually? What the test thing was, and that Spider-Man thing that we saw out in the world wasn't real. Like that's what I thought when I first saw it. Because
4 people have passed away from that, so I think it was not real.
The Spider-Man thing.
I'm just kidding.
The Nintendo Switch Online. The Nintendo Switch Online test thing where you saw the footage of people swinging around like Spider-Man. I was like, was that fake? And this was the actual test? Was this one?
Well, here's one thing I hope for this. I hope that this does not become, does not have the same release pattern as the NSO games where we get 2 every other month. We're talking about music here. People are used to getting, you get an album, you get, anywhere from 12 to 30 songs on an album, right?
Or 4 if it's an EP.
True. I don't want the drip release. Turn on the fire hose. Just unleash the wealth of content that you have, Nintendo.
I think it's already sitting there ready to be done.
Yeah, just that'd be smart if they held on to this for so long because they were actually preparing a stockpile of scheduled releases and they want to put out 20 albums a week or whatever. Please do it.
I'm still of the opinion the Sakurai thing had something to do with it. The delay.
I mean, I could see that. I could see it. Just again, Nintendo thinks so strange. That they think unlike any other company. So I think that could be something. But yeah, just turn on the fire hose. Let us have all the content as soon as possible. No need to just like do this steady release of like 5 songs here or there or whatever.
I mean, but I think it's better to wait though, because if you release everything at once, it's only popular for that time when it's released. Like if you drop
this conversation before, I think
that's the truth though. It's like when you look at things on Netflix, like they drop a whole season of one show. It's only in the conversation for that week. But if you wait like week after week, then it continues to be in the conversation for every week when the new episode releases. But when you drop it all at once, people will talk about it right then and they'll move on because there's too much shit out there. So they should not do the fire hose thing because, like I said, it's going to be in the conversation. Maybe we got an election thing next week, so probably not for like 2 seconds, and then no one will ever talk about it again.
I feel like
so it's better to wait. And also, what Nintendo can do, like you said before, like with the Tetris 99 stuff, we'll wait until there's a big release, and then we'll release stuff with that.
Yeah, I feel like they've got a breadth of old content going back 40 years, and I think the old stuff, put it all out at once. And if you want, instead of releasing it week by week, highlight it week by week. Next week feature Dr. Mario, have a listen to this stuff, and then the stuff that they really want to feature and promote is their new stuff. So that would help if they were to just put all the old stuff out as soon as possible. That would help clear the pathway so that they could feature Xenoblade Chronicles when that comes out. And I think, I don't know, I'm tired of waiting for Nintendo to just have all the content. I'm hurt from 18 years ago when we had the Wii shop. Like I would have thought they would just like built the games up, from there, and we'd have all whatever 1,000 games at this point. But they kept resetting. So it's like, I think, don't do that anymore. Put out everything you got, and then if you want to just like highlight things week by week, and that's how you can keep the attention.
So here's what I got to say.
I mean, we already have Dr. Mario.
Here's what I got to say about all that. Nintendo is releasing an app based off their licensed songs. So third party or even second party, I don't know how that works. If they help produce the album or if they help produce the game, maybe they have some sort of rights for the soundtrack. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is it's a sketchy thing to assume that Nintendo has the rights to this game that came out on the Switch or, the Wii U or the GameCube or whatever. Go back as far as you want. Like if it's not a first party game, then we don't know what the red tape is there. So I just think I'm kind of like, as much as I hate to say it, I'm agreeing with you, John, that it's going to be based on like a new release. Therefore, here's the soundtrack on Nintendo Music. Like, this week we're coming out with, maybe it might even be a promotional thing where like you have to pre-order it to get the soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like
maybe so. Yeah.
No,
I think it's going to be.
I feel the same way. I feel
it's going to be attached to their number one, their promotion, and their it's just going to be another part of their promotion because they finally realized after 35 years or 40 years or whatever that people like the music.
People care, right?
Yep.
No, I agree with that. I just don't want. Yeah, I mean, I don't care whether they release there's already a shit ton of songs on there, and I would actually. I mean, I would prefer that they would, if they were going to release like this, this whatever fabled like 5,000 songs that they have on there, or whatever. They should wait for that, and have people keep their interest in it or whatever. But I mean, they already have a lot of stuff on there. I'm surprised there's no Xenoblade games in there at all. Like, what the fuck is your problem? But there's a lot more that I guess I missed. Like, I mean, they have like 30 songs from like Fire Emblem, the Blazing Blade one or whatever. Like, there's plenty of stuff to listen to as of right now. So I'm excited to try it out, and I will try it out over this weekend and report back about it next week. So, hooray!
I think we're done.
I think two that I want to mention. One is
Mega 64.
do,
oh yeah,
Like 64, that they posted that they were facing some financial trouble and might have to shut down. Now it seems like very quickly people have rallied to their rescue to support them and go on Patreon and all that. But
That's
I felt
probably
like I wanted to give
why
them a
they
shout out
did it.
because yeah, I've been watching their stuff for 20 years. I think we all have, and like yeah, it's I hope they're able to pull through, and if you are able to do so, go to their Patreon and support them because they make great content. I hope they can keep going another 20 years at least.
I don't think I've seen any of their stuff since I don't know when, like Wii era time. Like I think the last time I saw was when they made fun of the lady that came out, like when the Wii what was it the Wii Sports Resort or whatever, they made fun of that. Like that was kind of done with them after that. But that was I think the last thing I saw. I don't know what they've done since then. And not that I don't know. It was just maybe I didn't stay up on them or whatever. I honestly didn't even think they were still together still. But I know that I remember you liking them a lot. And I did actually, however many episodes before, I did actually put a Magic City Man on there because that was a funny one that back in the day of Infamous and whatnot. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really read the article. I just put it on Slack because I knew that you liked Mega 64.
Yeah, the article didn't say much beyond just saying exactly what I said. I guess they've been facing a lot of the same troubles that other YouTubers have. The algorithm has changed and all that kind of stuff.
Or
yeah,
the
just go
troubles
support them if you can.
are the troubles that every fucking video thing has been facing lately. That just there's not enough money to support the people that work on your things. So I think is what the main thing is. Aside from YouTube, like from actual video stuff, like from TV shows and movies and whatnot, it's hard to actually pay your
Like Hulu.
to pay your people and productions and whatnot. But also I blame YouTube for that because that's probably a big reason why there's less money for that because people are just watching that, not actual channels. But I don't know. Is there anything else on here that you?
Yeah, just the last one, just to reference what I said at the top of the show. The Harris campaign reaching out to gamers. Tim Walz played Crazy Taxi with AOC this week.
Yeah,
cool.
I saw that on. Well, I mean, I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, "Is this real?" I watched a video, but I didn't listen to the sound on it or whatever. But I was like, "Is this real?" I guess it was because it was blowing up Monday night or it was like Sunday or Monday night. It was I think it was Monday night that it was blowing up. But then also there's a Freedom Land in Fortnite. On Fortnite, but it's very hidden. It's like you need like a code. Like I couldn't figure out how to do it honestly from reading the article from IGN because we play Fortnite weekly. I play with Joe and Logan on the stream and all that on twitch.tv/NintenDomain podcast. But and I mentioned it and it's nowhere to be found. Like if you don't know about it and you don't know how to find it, you won't. So I was hoping that it would be more than that. I thought it would actually be there. It would actually be an update. And I even made sure to update the Fortnite, but it's not there. It's like a secret code that maybe you can play if you talk to a person at some point and had a secret handshake or something like that. Like it doesn't seem like the way they portrayed it on IGN is not what it actually is. Like it's very hidden, so it's not like, oh, here's a new Fortnite thing. Like you won't find it if you don't know how to secretly find it. So that kind of sucks. Like it should have been just out there. I thought it would be an option, like how they have like, no build play or whatever, like that's like zero build, like
maybe it's kind of cool.
It's not there.
It's like an old school game where you have to like figure out how to unlock.
You got to put a password into it. Yeah. I just was like, I mean, I don't know. I thought it would help them. It was actually available and it wasn't just like, oh, here's a secret 20 digit code that you got to put in that you'll probably have nobody on there because you won't have the 100 people of Fortnite or whatever. I don't know.
Too big to fail.
It was kind of disappointing, honestly. I thought it would be bigger than what it was, but whatever.
Yep. Well, they also been putting out gaming themed ads. Like I saw an ad that you put out with Greg Miller of all people from Kind of Funny, talking about how Trump's taxes would cripple their small business and all that. This is just like a clip from the show. It wasn't like him, being hired to speak or whatever. It was like a clip from the show that he happened to mention, and they put it out as an official ad.
I keep forgetting to mention it, but I went to Portillo's here in Champaign, Illinois recently, and Greg Miller's picture is on the wall.
Really?
Oh, really? What does that mean?
Well, because of his dog?
I don't know, but he was on, like, he had a signed picture on the wall here in Champaign.
Are there other known people there, or is it just a random picture of Greg Miller on the wall?
I know he's a big fan. I mean, back in the day...
there's lots of pictures.
Back in the day when I was more of a PlayStation fan and I listened to PlayStation Beyond when he was still on IGN, he actually did have a dog named Portillo that he would talk about a lot, so I know that he was a fan of Portillo's.
Fan, huh?
Yeah, he had a Portillo. He had a wiener dog named Portillo, so I figured he was a fan of that restaurant or whatever. So, but I didn't know. I mean, I go to Portillo's all the time to pick up food, but I never see pictures of him there in Chicago. Maybe it's only, I don't know why it's, so maybe I should look around more and see if I could find one. I don't know. There's that. But yeah.
Yep. Last thing I wanted to say is, just go vote. And
yeah.
Yes,
vote. Please.
If you listen to us, you know who we're voting for.
Yeah.
And I wanted to reiterate
JFK Jr.
Bring him back.
That's too close to RFK. Don't say. Well, I mean, you could write him in or something. Isn't it? I don't even know. I don't give a shit what he's doing. Forget what I said. Don't listen to me.
I wanted to reiterate a point that I made on an earlier episode. If you're a Republican listening to this and you don't like Donald Trump, there's another option, and you can't bring yourself to vote for Kamala. Just leave your vote blank. That is a legitimate option. You can check yourself off. You voted.
You sound like something that the right would refer to as a psyop. Like,
no, that's me. Psyop.
I'm trying not to get them to vote. Like, can't listen to this clip. This person's telling them not to vote.
You didn't actually say this in an episode, John. You said this to us directly while we were going to Jereme's wedding, but it was a person to person thing. But
okay, I thought I said it in an episode. But yeah, that's a legitimate option. Leaving it blank, putting your name on a ballot, and going down to the precinct and handing it in with an empty spot says that I bothered to show up and you didn't give me a good enough candidate. That is your vote. If you want extra bonus points, you can write in and actually say somebody better than Donald Trump. Make that your candidate name that you're writing in, but you don't have to vote for it. You can turn in a blank ballot and that counts as a legitimate vote. So do that. If you really feel like you can't bring yourself to vote for Kamala, but you don't like Trump, that's your option there.
But I don't. I mean, I hope we don't have any Republican listeners. Like, really, I don't know. We did actually double our downloads this month. We normally get 1,000 a month. We're at 2,000. I don't know. Maybe that's from the YouTube stuff. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, just go vote and just vote. Just go vote. Just put your voice out there. I know it doesn't it doesn't actually matter because of electoral colleges, but we can pretend that it does and go out there and vote, and hopefully
make a protest vote if you live in Illinois.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's that. And I think there was one. Let me say a couple of things. Shadow Man and Turok 2 N64 Mature is out there. Buy the Night Dive Studios versions. They're way better. But yeah, you can play them for free on there if you want to. Shadow Man's really weird. I actually have my actual version running back here. Oath and Felghana is coming out in January. I actually thought it was coming out in March. Cool. If you play through Ys 10, Oath and Felghana is actually a remake of 3, which is the sequel to 10. So if you like that, you can go play that. But was it Chernobylite Complete Edition? That's actually friends of ours, and they actually sent us a email about the trailer for that. So hopefully we'll get a code for it, and we'll get to cover it on here. So
cool.
It'll be cool. I think that's from, was it Untold Games, Wiretap Media? They send me emails pretty often about their stuff. And they've given us codes before on stuff, so I'm excited to play it. But yeah, there's that. And I think that's good, right?
Yes.
I'm sure whenever I know Jereme wants to get out of here. Anyway, that's good for episode 445. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you like hearing us, please go to patreon.com/NintenDomain podcast and give us $1 or $5 or whatever, and you'll get a bunch of extra content. I just put up we did an expansion pack episode about our 5 favorite composers. So there's 15 composers on there from the 3 of us. It's really fun to do, and also WART Radio is out as well. which it's like an hour. It's an hour and a half of great music, a whole lot of Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, but I put some fun Halloween stuff in there as well because of the timing and all that. And check it out. And also you can see early videos of us recording this and all that fun shit and whatnot. And, Twitter at Nintendo_domain and at JMaxStack and YouTube.com/NintenDomain podcast. I've been putting the show on there, plus I've been streaming. I streamed Yakuza plus Ease 10 and Mario Party. I've been trying to do my own stuff aside from the WrestleChat stuff. So check that out on there, and twitch.tv/NintenDomain podcast at 11 or so. You can find us on there as well. But we've been your hosts. I'm Trey Johnson.
Jeremy Kowski.
John Knitter.
And thanks so much for listening. See you next time.
貫いた偽りのジャスティス握っていたはずの手はいつしかはぐれてた巡る季節刻む時計道をたがえた二人So tonight 今夜もまた tonight ため息つく一人きりじゃ上がけない思い出な tonight 近いの So tonight 場所で待つよこんな夜はお前に会え